all, I'd like to ask if there's any indigenous people from this land here today. Is there anyone here? Would you please stand? Okay. In our traditional way, we're supposed to ask permission to speak and be on your land. So I'm asking for your permission to go ahead and speak. Is that okay?
Yes.
So I'll say the opening in my Tewa language. Then we will get go about you. So I am Kathy Sanchez from San Ildefonso Pueblo in the northern parts of New Mexico. And my Pueblo's land, our sacred mountains in the Jemez area, were the ones that were taken from us with an executive order where they created the first atomic and the hydrogen bombs. So we were the first casualties of war. We were the first ones to really have our people be the ones that carried out their cleanup without any security or without any means of knowing. And it was deliberately not knowing what was happening because of their secrecy in order to create that weapon of mass destruction. And so when the bombs were created there, everything was just dumped into the canyons, and our men were the ones that were bearing it and taking it away. But there were a lot of chemicals used during that time as well. And then our brothers and sisters down south in the Tularosa Basin area were the ones that had the experience of being bombed first. There were the bombs that were dropped on them as the experiment and the test. And again, they were not told anything about what was happening because of the secrecy and wanting to be the first strike tool for the United States. And so I brought materials here with me and I will show them. So I do have a statement from the Tularosa Basin downwinders, and they did a health assessment survey, so I have that available for a handout. And they produced a health survey that says unknowingly, unwillingly, and uncompensated. So that's available on their website as well, because the government to this day has not acknowledged the people that they harmed there, and they are dying from all the nuclear diseases, the cancers, the tumors, and whole rows of towns have been decimated because it was all a secret. And we were going to show the video footage of that, finally unclassified footage of that first test bomb in that area, but we don't have the facility. But you can go to YouTube and you can find those footages of what was done to the people and the harm and not being acknowledged to this day. So that's available. And then, as mentioned earlier, I am about knowing what is the culture of violence and knowing what is us as a Native Indigenous people, the culture of peace, and why were we annihilated, why were we genocided off of the place that the United States now occupies. And the doctrine of discovery has never been taken off the books. So we were not considered humans, and we were first put in the United States under the natural resources. And I could say, because as Native people, we have always declared that we are Mother Earth, that what happens to Mother Earth happens to us. And so as the culture of peace, we are saying that everything has life, everything has the energy. And so it's from that emphasis of energy that I have come to know what is the negative manipulation of the nuclear weapons, that they go into the heart and soul of life-living, life-givers and blast that energy out of them. And so when you look at that positive energy of life that's in all of us and that's in all the plants, all the animals, all the rivers, all waters, us, that's that spirit of love. And that's a very positive, strong energy that Mother Earth came to us with to give us life. Now, when the culture of violence came forward, they are parasitical. They do not exist on their own, but they live off of our energy. And they've groomed those that have been the oppressors and those who are the oppressed. Because it takes both sides to be numbed out, drugged out, and killed, and annihilated, and controlled in order for a culture of violence to exist. And that beast, or that a parasitical entity, is still here, alive and well, especially strong in the United States. Because that is what is still heading the game of blocking the United Nations states from coming together to declare that it's illegal, that it's unconstitutional, that it's not, should not be allowed as a tool to have the ability to kill in a massive, hideous way. And so a lot of the questions that we get as Native people is, how is it that if you're the whole populations of indigenous people that were within these lands occupied now by the United States, we were annihilated, genocided to recover at 1%. So we have that trauma, we have the historical collective trauma as peoples. And that trauma is what we call soul wounding, because it's that positive energy that was trying to be killed and used. And so that soul wounding carried from one generation to the next, and then you get generational trauma. Because if we were never allowed to heal, if we were never compensated, if we were never told about what happened, and it was all because of power and control, then we pass that hurt wound to our generations. And it's exponential. Exponential meaning that it's like the disease itself, cancer. Cancer, if you have one wounded cell, it multiplies exponentially and all the cells around it are harmed as well. And so that happens to our psyche, our souls, just the same way, because that spirit of love has been tried to be genocided from the start to now. And so as Native peoples, we have what they call, oh, you're so resilient, you survived, why aren't you angry, why aren't you pissed off, why aren't you just crazy? So as Native people, this is from the Mohawk Nation, and this is a prayer that they say, oh, already 2 minutes? I didn't offer half the books. It's giving love and thanks. The children all read how to give love and thanks for waters, for foods, for the earth, for the sky, for the powers, for the abilities. That is what we need all our children to know, the culture of peace. It is not available in the United States to be talking about peace culture in the schools. And so then our children have made a book called Environmental Justice Adventures from an animal's point of view, what the lab has done, what the lab is doing, and why the animals are upset, and what we need to do to help them with their voice. So that's also available. And then because of the lab being there, they do have a lot of materials that's available on the environmental impact. Environmental impact is, we're saying that as women, we are the first environment, and as women, we also know the love that Mother Earth has given us and what we as women carry and bear in giving life. And so it's no wonder that the culture of violence really targets wanting to do away with the women power, the women voice, the young girls having to be subjected to that violence. So we want to stop that. So in our curriculum as TEWA Women United, we have our braiding model where we braid in the environmental justice issues, the reproductive justice,